So the day of Queen Elizabeth's coronation, she asked her grandmother, she said, "How do I know the difference every day? Am I Elizabeth the person, or am I Elizabeth the Queen?" And her grandmother said, "You will be making that decision every day of your life. Are you Elizabeth the person, or are you Elizabeth the Queen?" I would ask you, are you the person that you are, or are you an individual that is open to your royalty that has been indebted and due to you all your life? You know, it's a decision that we make. I think that is the beauty of Unity and Science of Mind and other New Thought communities across the world. I know for me, I was saved, literally the first time my life was saved, when I walked into a Unity community and I heard that I didn't have to be in my life just a person. Because by then I was pretty well trained as you're just a person. You're just a something. And you can only amount to so much, and you can only be so much, and you were born wrong from day one through traditional teachings, and blah, 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 but you're just a person. And it was the Unity way, it was the Unity path that I learned going into my 20s that I'm actually so much more than a person. That there's this potential in me that if I'm willing to get my personality out of the way, some pretty unique and exciting things can happen. That is why Master Teacher Jesus said, "It is not I, but the Spirit within me who doeth the works." There's an opening to recognize that there's something that can happen within you and express through you if you're willing to put some of that personified identity of what you've said all your life, those mortal limitations, over to the side. You wake up one day and you go, "Wow, how did I get to be here? How did I get to be in a place of more abundant than I ever dreamed, of being able to demonstrate, of having relationships that are far exceeding what I ever started out with?" Relationships aren't designed to survive them. They are created to support you to thrive. You see. There was a carpenter that was well known for his skills in one of the local towns, and he was coming upon an age that he decided he wanted to retire. And so he went to his general contractor and he said, I'm going to be leaving. And the guy said, "I get that," but he said, "I need to ask you a favor. Will you do this one last house for me?" And so the carpenter, he got his crew together, and he noticed that he kept kind of cutting back. His heart just wasn't in it. He was through. He was done. And so he just cut back and trimmed back and everything. And then he went to the general contractor and he said, "Well, the job, it's been done now." He said, "It's finished." And the general contractor handed him the keys. And he said, "What you didn't realize is," he said, "this last house is now your house. You were making it for yourself." And when we are looking at life, we are building a house. We're building a lasting house of consciousness. We're building a lasting house of eternal beliefs that can bring us to this place of transformation, that we're able to manage through life, mastering our emotions and allowing a space of mystery and delicious and miracles, and we have the eyes to see them. What I find so interesting is Helen Keller wrote more quotes about seeing as a person who could not see than most people who can see wrote about seeing. Just kind of a point I was aware of. But she said it's very interesting because when the door closes in your life, happiness is when a door closes and you don't spend your life focusing on the closed door. but you have the ability to see that there is a new door waiting to be opened right there before of you. You know. And I feel like if she can see that, then surely we can see that from a sense beyond the five senses, but from a sense of knowing and joy. I love the statement that as a person, we get all immersed being of the world. We get caught up in dynamics and things that sell commercials and lots of 24/7 exposure to, did you hear the most recent, and the, letting breaking news break you. There's a purpose for all of this, everyone. The purpose for all of this is to keep you being a person instead of an empowered, individual, authentic, amazing human being that by the very nature of your breath can transform Australia. That by the very nature of your energetic prayer, you could transform countries before everybody got up for their carbohydrate Wheaties and watched 24-hour news. You see, you could do that. But we were trained early on as a person to live in a little box and to not stir the pot and to spend most of our lives apologizing to ourselves. Thus we get into addiction, we get into things, we repeat old patterns, we tell the same old stories, we live a different year the same way twice, and those kind of things, because we are spending too much time on the fact that we are a person instead of that we are an heir to royalty. You see that? You see that? There were 4 ministers that got together, and as ministers will do, they compare notes. And so they were comparing which Bible they like the most. And one minister says, I'm dedicated to the King James Version, And the other minister said, I like the New Standard Version. It's easier to read and it makes more sense and the words are easier to pronounce, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the other minister says, I like the International Version. The new millennials are really into it. It feels more, of the world and global and all of that. And then another minister said, I like the Living Bible. And all 3 of those ministers said, I'm not familiar with that one. Which one is that? And the man said, it's my dad's life. It's how my dad lived. It's how he lived. Because I didn't need to read a book. I watched him. And through watching how he lived in every moment, watching how he was, how he embraced, how he loved, how he testified to love, that made me just naturally want to be a better person. And as I was thinking about this week, I was thinking about my living Bible. In my life was Reverend Alan Rowbotham. He had a space, an aura, piercing blue eyes, and a calmness that you could sit there and lose all sense of time, lose all sense of meaning, lose all sense of your story. When I would go in his office, which was often, and I started out with a story, by the time I left, I didn't even remember the reason I went in there. You know what I mean? And that's the life you want. That's the space when you testify to love, for others to feel that, is because the very nature of people being around you, their stories dissipate. And when you are emerging in a spiritual community, and that's the title today, An Amazing Life is Spiritual Community, when you really invest yourself in a spiritual community, you put your whole self in. Even though there's times you won't believe everything that you're hearing, or it may not seem possible to you in the moment, or you can't see how that could happen the way that we're saying, because we've been taught as a person that most things are supposed to be hard, and if they're good things, you're not supposed to be happy about them. and so when you're coming from a place, a new place that teaches you that this is actually easy, you've also been programmed that good things, I knew it was too good to be true. Are you with me? That's part of programming. Because unless it's too good to be true, it's not big enough for you. Can you hold that? It's not big enough for your measurable of something that you would be interested in having, experiencing, And you begin to line up with that truth, and you stop telling the stories of repeatedness in your life. I've always been fascinated by the people that say, they're in love with somebody. Oh, I'm so in love, I'm so in love, I'm so in love. But we're not gonna pursue the relationship, because if we were to break up, we just probably wouldn't be able to be friends. And our friendship is so important. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? You've already negated everything before you've even put your toe in. You know what I mean? Dip in the water and cleanse thy soul. It's time to dream big. And allow love to happen and allow examples to be set. You see, don't limit yourself from those kind of things, those kind of experiences, because they are beyond what is possible. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who taught the Fillmores and also taught Ernest Holmes, she said there's 3 significant reasons as to why most people are just practicing being people instead of being an heir to what's possible, of why some people are not self-reliant, is that there's 3 qualities. One is willfulness. And that's the person that it isn't working, but they're determined to keep doing it the same way. Keep doing it the same way and hoping and wishing for different results. And at times being stubborn about it, to say, oh, I know this stuff. Well, knowing is supposed to change to growing, supposed to change to showing. And unless it's showing in a testify to love kind of moment, then we don't really know it. It's like an epiphany. It's like happy hour, as Chandra Alexandra would say. We have an aha moment, but it doesn't go into a place that becomes a constant place in our lives, you see. And so that being said, the other one is the need to be right. I know that doesn't apply to any of you, but we have people listening on social media. The need to be right. I can't urge you enough to be willing to let go of the need to be right. It's transformative. It's transformative. It will heal you, but more importantly, it will reveal you to be able to be probed, to find a different place to hold yourself. There you go. But the other part, the third reason that people cannot seem to be self-reliant is they have a belief that it has to be hard. It has to be hard. If it's hard, and it's hard day after day, and the job is hard day after day, or it's hard with the checking account, or hard with whatever experience you're having, then it's because there's change that needs to occur. The law of thermodynamics is so beautiful because it teaches us about energy. It teaches us about the fact that burning wood does not die. It becomes something else, you see. And water evaporating does not go away. It's just somewhere else, and it will come at another time. We cannot, in our humanity, live a life in the law of thermodynamics and not understand that the Creator created us to change. The pain of life comes from the unwillingness to change. And when we hold on and we are afraid of change, people will fight for something they've been doing for 20 years that they don't even like, and invest, $15,000 to $35,000 a year on counseling to do the same repetitive thing when all that's required is to change. Is to change. To change. I'll give you an example of that. And it happens all the time. What happens often? I had a couple come and see me. They were thinking of ending their marriage, and they were going to a counselor in Tampa, going to one in Bradenton. They don't ever want us all to know the same stories. You know that, right? Like, I'll just tell this one that. Anyway, I'm digressing. So the point is, they came to see me. And they were having these problems because one was a clean freak and the other didn't care. Left the socks everywhere in the shirts and didn't pick up, didn't wash the dishes. And I'm being loving, and I'm not quite being like Reverend Allen. I was needing a little work on myself that day, but I'm thinking, this is so significant in the great scheme of life. You know what I mean? But anyway, so I'm sitting, and I hope they're not here today or watching. But anyway, they are still together, which is a good thing. But I said to them, I said, do you realize how much money every year you're spending with counselors? Yeah. I said, do you know how inaffordable it would be for you to get a cleaning person? I mean, are you kidding me? You know, you could pay a cleaning person to come in 4 days a week for what you're paying for counseling. You get the point. And so you look at your life and what is the willingness to change? Because when you get into that bottleneck of, I want things to be different, but I'm not willing to be different. I want something to be new and unique, but I wouldn't want to have to get adjusted to anything different. Thank you, Linda. I'll tip you after. You know, we have this iPhone or Android, and it does everything except cook for us, really. And we have an alarm on it, alarm clock, and it makes all these beautiful sounds, and you can make it snooze. You know, you can program it to keep snoozing. And, you know, the alarm goes off, and the whole idea of the alarm is to wake up, right? And then it's snooze. I'll hit snooze. I mean, I have, you know, your dog's a hit snooze for you. You know, snooze. Don't be in the habit of your life to hit snooze. Don't delay the wake-up call that wants to happen in you today. Don't hit snooze. Because those tomorrows, you run out of them. You run out of them. And, you know, whatever it is that's wanting to awaken with you, try it on. Be willing. Be open. You can always go back. But you'll never know what your life can be if you're not willing to go forward. Thank you for coming today. Bless you. Thank you.
Oh.